Hello and welcome to another episode of Real Talk with Terry. My name is Terry Cato and I am your host today. And I would like to first of all thank the ladies of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated Zeta Psi Chapter here at San Jose State University in San Jose, California for inviting me out today. I have all of the lovely co-eds out here in the audience and I have a beautiful panel. So I'm so excited to talk with you guys this evening. We're just going to talk about healthy relationships on campus, and I'm calling this session Relationships 101. Because we're on college, I know you guys are, in relationships, you're mixing and you're mingling and you're having fun. And I remember being where you are, being a college student and out there dating and having fun. So we're just going to talk about healthy relationships on campus, and I'm gonna throw questions out there or throw some scenarios or whatever out to you. The first thing that I want to throw out is I realize that I'm of another generation from you guys, okay? And my generation, we tend to think that you guys, the millennials, we call you guys like the hookup generation. Yeah, like, we know, we know. Do you guys agree kind of with our assessment? Because you guys have all these, matching up and hooking up sites like Tinder and Badoo and Match.com. I mean, stuff that didn't even exist when I was in college. And you guys have so many options out there. So what are your thoughts on how we feel about how you guys just kind of, or at least our perception, I don't know if it's true, but that's our perception, is that you guys kind of just get together and hook up and no commitment, no relationship. So let's start at this end. Well, first of all, before we say that, just quickly introduce yourself, your name, and your major.
Okay, hi everyone, I'm Taylor and I'm a health science major.
Hi.
And I was going to say that I think that hooking up is the case for some people, but I don't think that that's a new thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more easily accessed, but I think people were hooking up before. It was just that you couldn't go through the internet to do it.
That's a great point. Okay, awesome. Did anybody else want to comment? You got a comment on that? Yes, okay. There you go. Say your name and major.
I'm Victor. I'm an aviation major. And what I was going to say is that I think hooking up has a negative connotation to it. You can have a strong physical and sexual attraction to someone, and they might have the same, and those feelings might be reciprocated. And so then you guys do, what you have to do. And so, but that hasn't changed. I feel like that's been throughout human history. So, you can call us the hookup generation. You just put a label on it. So.
Right. Okay, I got it. So you're basically saying people have always been doing it, but it's just that now we tend to label you guys. Got it. Okay. Did anybody else have a comment over here? Okay, go. Say your name and major.
Okay, my name is Josiah. I'm a business major. I think it kind of matters how you define hooking up. If you want to define it as sleeping around, then I think it is a negative hook. But if you define it as actually just maybe going to hook up with someone because you enjoy their company, go to a movie, go to a dinner, if you're hooking up with more than one people, it is healthy because it allows you to see what you like and not like about people. It allows you to see what you prefer, to see what you enjoy.
So you're basically saying that hooking up can be a healthy thing because it allows you to kind of see what you like and see what you don't like. That's kind of you look at it from a healthy standpoint.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, got it. Okay, you're shaking your head. You got a comment? Okay, so your name and major.
My name's Sebastian. I'm a Just Studies major and a psychology minor. So for me, more hooking up is actually having sex with someone. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the older generation might look down upon us, but we're more comfortable with our bodies. We control our bodies. They don't. So for me, it's not a negative thing. I'm gonna do what I want with my body, and they're not gonna tell me what I can and can't do. So.
Okay. Well, I heard that. Can I tell them what to do with their body? All right. Well, for us, I do agree with what you guys said. I do feel like hooking up has always been around, even when I was in college. But I think we were probably a little bit more on the down low with it. That was the only thing. We just didn't want everybody to know it. So that's a good point that you bring up, and I do agree with that. I think it's always been around. It's just that, like you said, you guys are, you just tend to be a little bit more out there with what you do, where we were a little bit more on the down low. Okay. Well, let's go on to the next thing, and let's talk about sex versus love. Is there a difference? Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. So is there a difference? I want to hear what you guys have to say about that. Right here. Say your name and major.
My name is Shaylin, and I'm a health science major. And I definitely do think that there's a difference between sex and love. I feel like love is definitely an emotion, it's a feeling, and sex is just an action at that time. But sex, you can love someone and have sex with them, but it all depends on the person and the relationship between you two.
Agree. It's a great answer.
Hi, my name is Amy. I'm a hospitality management major. I feel like love and sex are obviously two different things. I feel like sex is more of a component of love, and then love actually kind of has meaning to it, while sex is just kind of like an action.
Got it. I was gonna say that I think people start to confuse it now because sex was supposed to be meant for people who are in love.
Right.
And after some people, often girls, will be in love and the boy won't be in love with them, and they'll have sex and they think that'll change that. So then after they realize that sex didn't change the love the boy had for them, then they kind of have sex with everyone because they decide it's meaningless.
Right.
But it wasn't supposed to be meaningless.
Exactly. I want to hear what you guys have to say. Agree. Say your name and major.
Charlie, chemical engineering. I don't know if you guys can disagree with me, it's all good, but I think love is a combination between sexual desire and comfort. So when you talk about, personally for me, when sex, people obviously are sexually attracted to them, that's one portion of love, so you can mistake that for love. But if you can't get to that comfort level with another individual, you won't be able to fulfill love. That's why I think they are different. One is a part of the other, while the other technically doesn't need sex. For instance, older couples. Older couples, I mean, let's be real. And you really, I don't think you want to be seen naked. But because that is there for each other. So when you're older, when you're like 90, you're not looking for that sexual life, you're looking for that person you can stay with, and that comfort level overtakes the sexual desire. So I feel like love is a combination between sex and comfort, while sex is sex.
Exactly. That's a great answer. You have another comment? And I totally agree with what you guys have said, that I really like what you said, where where love, actually sex is meant to kind of go with that, and one doesn't necessarily need the other. So you had a great comment, and I really like what you said. And there is a difference. So don't get it twisted that for anybody, girls or guys, that just because if you get with somebody and have sex with them, they're not going to necessarily love you. So don't mix the two up, because they're very different. And my viewpoint on the whole sex and love thing is very traditional. It's wrapped in tradition, and my faith, and it's faith-based, so I won't dump that on you guys. But what I will say is, when you're out here and you're on campus and you're having fun, you're doing your thing, just remember to protect yourself. Do males and females, do they look at hooking up differently? I think they do. But I want to hear what you guys have to say. You were like, yeah, I think they do. I think guys and girls, I think they have a whole different viewpoint of what hooking up is. What do you guys have to say?
I definitely think that women and men do have a different viewpoint on hooking up. 9 times out of 10, a woman, not that it's a bad thing or that it happens all the time, but will be more deeply involved or connected to that person when they hook up, or catch feelings faster and put more into it than a man would all the time. And a lot of times that brings confusion in what the situation is between those two people. I think just a viewpoint on how fast the feelings grow is the difference between men and women with hooking up.
I think I can't speak for women, but for men, I think that the hookup culture is it's almost emasculating if you don't hook up. You see it all the time. You can talk to your boys like, hey, bro, should you see her? Yeah, me too. Blah blah blah. I mean, I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. But I'm just saying culturally, it's almost emasculating. From a male point of view, you don't hook up with people.
Interesting. That's a good comment. Did anybody else want to add to that? That's a great comment.
So hooking up, it's like a double standard. Men are, they're cheered on for that, but when a woman does it, guys are like, oh no, she's a hoe, she's a slut. But maybe the woman just wants to enjoy sex too, like a guy does. Honestly, it's a chauvinistic double standard that men put on women, you know.
Very true, and so I think I heard somebody whisper culture, but that's so true, what he said, and that's something to keep in mind. You know, guys hooking up versus girls hooking up, you're viewed differently for that, and it's totally, you know, our culture, and, you know, it just is what it is. You know, it's just how people view it. You know, a guy can do certain things, and, you know, it's all good, like he said, you know, they're looked at or viewed upon as being masculine, but, you know, if a girl go out and do the exact same thing, you know, they might be looked at as, oh, she a hoe, she a freak, blah, 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 blah. So be careful, because that's just the culture, it's the nature of, you know, the society that we live in. And this leads right into my, you know, next question or whatever, and that's kind of gender roles in relationships, kind of the role of a man, the role of a woman. Like, what do you guys feel about that, about gender roles? Because, I mean, now we're kind of, you know, your generation, or, you know, we're kind of in society where, you know, it's not as defined, it's not as clearly defined as it was when I was, you know, say 20 years ago, and I was, you know, kind of seeing where you guys are. So what do you guys have to say about, you know, gender roles right now as it pertains to, like, your generation?
So I think that there are gender roles still, and I think that men still should hold the door open for women, but I also think that women, it is okay for women to be completely independent on themselves and not depend on a man to do that as well. So I feel like there are roles, but then I feel like women can still be independent for themselves.
Right.
Personally, I don't believe in gender roles. I don't think there's something a woman has to do and something a man has to do. I think if a woman wants to do something masculine, they can do it. If a guy wants to do something feminine, they can do it, and they shouldn't be judged for it, or there shouldn't be like specific guidelines or societal norms for either gender, because we can do what we like, you know, who cares?
Well, I think gender roles differ, because looking at my own parents, you know, they were raised in like West Africa, and they're Cameroonian, so the gender roles are much more defined there. You know, the provider, you know, or versus like the childbearer. And I think in a relationship, the gender roles, I mean, up to a certain point, there has to be some role to like what the man has to do, like at least like, you know, protect your family. You know, like that's just a given. For the woman, like love your partner, respect them. You know what I'm saying? So I think there are some gender roles that still exist, and I think they're important to a certain extent, up until like it becomes disrespectful, until it becomes like expectations, like, you know, you have to defer to me, or
Exactly.
so as long as they're equally involved in the relationship, they're seen as equals, then I think the gender role shouldn't be a problem.
Right, I totally agree. And it's interesting because you brought up an interesting point that you're from a different country. And I just want to kind of piggyback on that because my father-in-law, we're American, African American, but he's actually retired and he lives in Tanzania. And that's something that he was talking to my husband and I about several months ago when he was here to visit. It's just how the men and women relate to each other in Tanzania, and how it's very different from how we relate to each other here in America. So you brought up a very good point, you know, as far as gender roles. I mean, you know, a lot of stuff plays into that culture, your upbringing. So it's very interesting that you mentioned that, being that you were raised in a different country. So do we have any other comments? And we're going to defer.
I definitely agree with going off what Victor's saying, that the gender roles, they aren't as obvious as they were, but they do still exist. Whether it's a woman being independent, which is how it is a lot of times. Women are some of the most educated women right now. The gender roles exist because you do want the man to be a provider and a protector and to lead by example. And you do want a woman that's strong as well, but you do want the woman to, a lot of times, support the man's decision, support the husband's decision. So the gender roles, they kind of intertwine with each other. They kind of more so supporting each other and backing up each other.
I feel like gender roles are very warped nowadays in society. Back in the day, it was very simple. Society said man is a man, he's the head of the household. Female is the wife at home. So when you look at the family, it was easy to tell who's the bacon maker, who's the bread maker. You'd be able to tell what was what, but nowadays it's very warped, it's very different. It's very hard to tell. You can look at the family and the man can be the housewife or the house husband, and the female can be the one point outside. So I feel like although we do have a defined, society has defined what roles each person takes, that has been warped to either be a male or female.
Right.
Like there always is going to be a person who is in charge of the house.
Right.
But unlike before, now we have that warped sense of like maybe the woman or male. Not to say that that's wrong, but in the sense of like the original meaning behind what is a man and what is a female in regards to gender roles,
Right.
it's warped. So
Right,
that's
I agree. I agree. You all brought up very good points about, gender roles and, as he mentioned, back in the day, a generation or so ago, I mean, it was very defined. The man is the breadwinner. He goes out, he works, he provides for the family. The woman they usually stayed at home. They raised the children. They kind of took that role on primarily. But as women, we went through the whole women's lib thing, and women became, quite honestly, more educated. They started going to college, and then they started working outside of the home. That obviously affected the whole gender identity thing. Now we have some women, as he mentioned, where the woman might make more money than the man. Or the man might be a stay-at-home dad. It's not always a stay-at-home mom. So now I think, it's totally different, and that's something that, your generation, you guys have to contend with more so than us. My generation, we're struggling through it, but you guys will definitely have it to contend with because, women now, the last statistic I read, there's more women in college getting education, getting degrees than men, So that's a good thing, but at the same time, the whole gender role, a man is still a man. I mean, that's God's divine order, as far as faith, and I don't want to throw that in here, but it's just God's divine order. That's how he created it. Man, woman, children. And the man was created to be the head of the household, to oversee the family. So that's just one of those things where you have women, we're very educated, we're out there, we're making just as much money as men. So it's kind of like that's something that you guys will have to just figure it out, maybe show us. Because my generation, a lot of us, we really struggle with that because there are a lot of people in my generation, they do make more money than their husbands. They might have more degrees than the man. And, they're always like, you hear my generation saying stuff like, oh, men are intimidated by strong women and, blah, 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 blah. And in fact, a couple of months ago, I did a male panel where I had some guys on a panel and we talked about that whole thing with men and women and being intimidated by strong women. So that's something that my generation that we're really, really struggling through. And I want to take another comment from you. Comment, question?
I would like to. You kind of touched on everything I was about to say.
I'm sorry. Just say it again. I like to talk.
I was just gonna say that I grew up with a kind of traditional but modern family, like traditional mindset. The man was usually, like you said, the caregiver, or not caregiver, but
The head of the house.
the head of the house, and
Provider.
then the mother was the caregiver and things like that. But at the same time, my mom was handling her business, working all the time, and at the same time, taking care of us while my dad was doing his thing. So, like Victor was saying, it takes equal effort from each gender in order for things to work out smoother and work out, because society today demands more from males and females in terms of workload and taking care of the family and everything like that. So it's going to take a lot more effort from both genders in order for things to
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
that's what
All right, thank you. We have another comment? Awesome, thank you. Comments. Okay, and this is one that I just like to throw out. It's a fun one. It's something that was really big when I was out there and in college. Do opposites attract, or is that an old cliche? What do you guys have to say about that? Do opposites attract? Is that still people are yes?
For that one, I feel like opposites do attract because I feel like if you're with somebody and then that's opposite of you, they'll kind of bring out different sides of you you probably don't know
Right.
that you had.
All right, so she's saying yes.
I think that opposites still do attract, but I think that they don't necessarily last.
Really?
Okay. In a lot of ways, at least in girls I know, and for how I used to be, it's you wanted that hard dude or something, and you're not necessarily hard to. I don't know if that makes sense, but And those are the ones that don't work out because you're usually not treated the right way.
Okay.
Because you're trying to find that opposite of you.
So anybody else? Opposites attract?
I kind of agree. I definitely agree with Taylor was saying. Opposites, I think opposites make it more fun. Opposites make it, keep it interesting, keep it new. Similarities, I think it lasts longer because if you're with someone and the couple both like to go to the gym and work out, y'all gonna keep working out together. It's gonna last a lot longer. But with opposites, they show you the new things and it just keeps it spontaneous.
Got it. I get it. So you're saying basically opposites attract and it's fun and it's exciting, but it doesn't necessarily last. It tends to last when you're with somebody that's more similar, share the same interests. That's a good point. And you have a comment? Say your name and major.
Hello, I'm Ian Grant, political science major. Excuse me. So pretty much I feel like that opposition is like the spark in the relationship. Cause like, yes, it's good to have similarities, like, but if you always match up with the person you're with, so things get boring. So you need that little opposition to help you, like, oh, she likes rap music, but I'm in the country. And then you look good. You're like, oh, I really do like rap music. Like, I don't know, just bring something different into your life.
All right, that's good. Okay, we have another comment. Say your name and major.
I'm Simone. I'm an RTBF major, radio, television, film. I believe that there needs to be similarities as far as financial and the future and those things, but I think opposites attract when that's there, but there's also like, oh, she's quiet and he's loud, or he's quiet and she's loud, you know. But yeah, I don't know.
So you guys sound like you agree
There's
that
gotta be
opposites
certain
attract.
things, yeah. There's gotta be certain things, like, you know, if you both, like, if you're like, I want to be broke all my life, and she's like, oh, I'm not.
So kind of moving along the same path.
He's like, I'm hustling, and she's like, oh, well, I have a job, you know. You know,
Right, I get it. Yeah, I get it. Okay, so you're saying, you know, kind of moving along the same path, have the same goals, so I get that. And I want to kind of say something along those lines. I'm a blogger as well. I write, I blog. And I remember doing a blog post on something what I call like bad boys and the women who like them. I won't say y'all, I'll say we. Why do we like bad boys?
So it's like, and what Josiah was saying, where it's interesting and it's fun.
Right.
So like they're fun for a while until you realize they're bad boys.
Right, for a reason. And it's like, okay, I need to like be serious. That's a good point.
And that would go with like what Simone was saying, where you're going to get a job and they're hustling out,
Right.
like, and making their money from another way, or
Right.
being on a different path as you. So it's an opposite in a way where you enjoy it, they're fun,
Right.
but they're also opposite because you guys are going towards two different
things, right, that's a good point. Did somebody else have a comment on the panel? Why do girls like bad boys?
I feel like women like bad boys because it's a risk, and you know, it's always fun taking a risk. And they're just, like, you know, the concept of a bad boy, like, every woman thinks they can change them, so I think every woman wants to go and change them, so that's why they like taking that risk.
So my name is Alicia. I'm a child and adolescent development major. Me personally, I don't go for the bad boys because I don't have time. Like I'm personally more so after those mama boys, you know, because that's just the type of man that I'm attracted to. Like I'm not into those studs, the ones that's kind of looking for a woman to settle down with. A good girl's gonna change me. No time for that.
Okay. But you know, I agree, that's a good point, but I have to agree, you know, I think women, myself included, you're attracted to and you like those bad boys because they're fun and they're exciting, but when it's time to get serious, it's like, okay, I don't think that's the kind of person I want to like settle down with, but you know, to have some fun. So you just have to like watch out for those bad boys. And you have a comment? Let's get the mic. And say your name and major.
Okay, hello, my name is Skylar Caesar. I'm a sociology major. I think one reason that women like bad boys is because I feel like women like taking on different projects.
Oh.
And okay. Let's be honest, I mean, like I feel this. I'm like, oh, I can change him, I can make it better, and then you feel proud of yourself after.
Okay, so you're saying when it works.
Yeah.
Usually it don't work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another thing is, opposite about the other side sometimes. So if you're a certain type of person, you grew up with a certain lifestyle, you might want to know what's on the other side of the railroad track. So, yeah.
Okay. That's a good point. That's true. So it's exciting, when it works, but rarely does that work because we really can't change anybody but ourselves. So just so that we all know that you really can't change someone. Did anybody else have a comment? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I had a comment about the opposites attract thing. I think opposites attract when you see something in someone that you don't see in yourself. Like, oh, I'm messy, but she's neat. So if you see like something that is wrong with you, and you see something that's like an improvement in someone else, you're like, oh, that's something that I want. That's something that I lack. But in terms of like, oh, I'm a loud person. I'm not trying to be like talking over like my girlfriend. Like, hey, what you want to do? Like I'm trying to dance or something, and like she's just like looking at me. I'm trying to. So like the good qualities in yourself, you try to find in those people too, like the way you're raised. But the things that you're missing, you try to find in other people too. That's what.
That's a great point, that sometimes we perhaps look for the characteristics in somebody else that are great that we may not have or that we're striving for. That's a great point that you made. That's a really good point.
My faith inside your love, now I'm reaching for my blessing.
'Cause he died and he rose, he's alive, this I know. I'm crossing over, I crossed over, I put the crossover, over everything.
So I'm free from crying, free from my depression. Put my faith inside your love, now I'm reaching for my blessing.
I'm crossing over, I crossed over, I put the crossover, over everything.